Hello there everyone, how you doing today? I hope you're all well. Today we're going into r/entitled people, where the people are extremely entitled. If you enjoyed today's stories, remember to like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below. Now without further ado, let's get started, shall we? Mom took over my wedding after I put boundaries in place and made it about me abandoning her. About 6 months ago, my mom and I got into an argument after I told her I didn't want her to walk me down the aisle, and she replied,
"I don't give a shit, don't talk to me about your wedding,"
and hung up. So I did just that. I didn't ask her for help, advice, or anything in between. I told her I'm at my wit's end with this relationship, and you shitting on the most important day of my life is the last straw. She said we would go to counseling. She went once and told me she's fixed. 2 months ago, she found a breast lump and it turned out to be very early stages of cancer. In fact, the doctors couldn't believe she found it because it was so small. However, she's convinced she is dying. She called me 4 days before my wedding to tell me she is considering physician-assisted unaliving of self. There's no reason to do this. She is having surgery to remove the cancer next week. I said that I do not have the emotional or mental capacity to support her in that way, as I am getting married in 4 days. It was an attempt at eliciting an emotional reaction. I know this because she said to me,
"You should have pulled me aside at your wedding and said how sad you are that I'm sick. I asked you how you felt and you weren't sad at all. Even your friend cried for me at your wedding."
She gave a speech that was 8 minutes long at the rehearsal, and in it she talked about how frustrating it is as a parent to have an independent child with boundaries, and encouraged me to have none with my husband. We were mortified. Following the speech, she asked if I liked it several times, then followed it with,
"Can't you just pretend to need me?"
She spent much of the wedding, a 3-day affair, talking about having cancer and dying, to anyone and everyone. Then pulled my friends aside to talk about how I'm abandoning her, and desperate need for me to love her. At the 11th hour, she said she was willing to help after spending 3 days being drunk with her friends hours away, and then was upset when I didn't have a private moment with her before walking down the aisle. I was late to my own first look because she physically grabbed me until I talked to her. She asked me today to talk and I said it is not the right time, but we would after her surgery. But of course she pressed the issue, so I laid it all out there, and she kept saying,
"This cancer has taken over my life and you have no empathy."
I have been so enmeshed with her that she keeps opposition and separation as actual abandonment. I'm married and in my 30s. I don't know what I'm getting at, but I'm ready to go no contact. Someone in the comments says, "As a mom of an independent daughter, please accept a virtual hug. And congratulations on your marriage. I hope you're getting therapy to deal with all of this. You'll build a family that you choose, related or not. Only let in those that lift you up, not those that tear you down." My mom thinks she's entitled to my new apartment. My mother thinks that my apartment is her home in the city. She recently rekindled a romance with the father of my middle sister. I'm the oldest, parents separated, and I got my middle and half sister and half brother, got back together, and got my youngest sister. This man left her high and dry when she was pregnant and ruined my childhood. Not that it was great before. She goes on dates and he lives in the city. So Friday night she'll come to my house to get ready in my 1-bath apartment that I live in with my autistic 8-year-old, taking hours and blocking the bathroom. She leaves and comes back on Sunday with her hair all messed up and dirty clothes. She then proceeds to climb in my bed and sleep for hours, get up and wash her clothes. She has a washer and dryer. She will also remove anything I'm washing, regardless if it's wet or not, take a long hot shower, do her hair, and then pack up and leave. She has also started dropping by on weekday evenings or early in the morning on weekdays to get ready for work if she has with him the night before. My son comments on her disheveled appearance and messy hair, and about how long she's asleep. This past time, I offered to do her laundry for her to expedite the process. She neglected to tell me that the cover she had taken to his house was covered in period blood and probably some other stuff. I saw red and had visions of dragging her out of my home. But I patiently waited until she was about to leave to tell her not to come back. Now she's using the excuse of having to pee or poo to come over every evening to do just that. Pee or poo. And she's using up all the wipes I buy for my son because he has a gastrointestinal issue associated with autism. I told her she wasn't allowed to use my wipes as she has no condition which makes her system act up. She proceeded to yell, offer to buy wipes, realized she didn't have the money, continued to yell, used the bathroom and used said wipes while taking mess in the bathroom, and when I sat her down a few days later, after I thought she calmed down, she proceeded to try and fight me in my living room, after I asked her why she thought she was entitled to my wipes. Fast forward to last week, and she came in to pick up my son for the weekend, and ran to the bathroom, proceeded to leave the door open, she never does this, take a good 10 to 15 minute poo, flush, wash her hands, leave the light on, and the door open. Let the smell permeate my small apartment. She could also clearly smell it. When I complained, she proceeded to just be an asshole and tell me that it wasn't that bad, and I should just deal with the smell because it'd be gone soon. But I live in the sub-level apartment and sealed all windows and doors and cracks. I even caulked the baseboard because of the bugs that find their way in. The smell took hours to go away after she left. I send my son to her car in the parking lot now and she's upset. I also suffer from depression and narcolepsy and insomnia and PMDD and ADHD and am anemic. And she would come in and look around my apartment with disgust and make rude comments about how dirty she thought it was, or my lack of a Christmas tree. She snuck her large file cabinet on my moving truck and into my closet, taking up so much space. She was supposed to get it last fall, all in front of my son, and would send me into a kind of comatose depressive state for the entirety of the weekend. She never offered to help and didn't even notice when I impulsively cut 5 inches off my hair. She still hasn't noticed. Sorry, rant over, just ugh. Update. She is now banned from entering my apartment, and when I listed the reasons because she needed to know, she replied with a text saying,
I knew it!
I was shocked that there wasn't an apology, but also, I kinda wasn't. I told her if she knew, she could have just corrected her behavior. Additional info. Her watching my son might also stop. She asked me for money to watch him, even though she insisted she wanted to watch him every other weekend, because of her pay schedule. Then she wanted me to provide food, even though he's only there from Friday from around 7 p.m. to Monday at 7 a.m. My friends offered to watch him free of charge after she also started canceling or coming late. With his autism, my son refused to eat until he was with her, and would refuse to eat the whole night or until she came back because of the routine he got into. When I told her I didn't need her anymore, she magically started watching him on the same schedule and getting him on time and not asking me for money or food anymore. She calls me every weekend she has him to complain about how he's being bad though, and it's because she has ignored everything I told her about boundaries and rules and routine when it came to his autism. And she still doesn't use any of the guest tactics to counteract the negative. Honestly, it's just behavior that annoys her behavior. This past weekend, she said my son was being bad at the store and that I needed to train him better. She wasn't always like this, but I can see her using more negative or demeaning terms towards how my son behaves. We might just have to go no contact. Someone in the comments says, do not let her in anymore. She clearly doesn't respect you or your home. You need to go low contact with her for your own peace. Also, tell her to get her cabinet now or it goes in the garbage. She's keeping that as a wedge to force contact, if I'm gonna be completely honest. Now on to the next story. Dad wants me to interrupt my studies to support my stepbrother. Hi, it's my first Reddit account. My roomie told me this is the place to vent about these things. It's a long post. My name is Michael. I was born and raised in Missouri. Going to keep it short, Mom died when I was 13, Dad remarried. We moved in with my stepmom, Linda, and my stepbrother, Lucas, who is the same age as me. Then everything went to crap. My father started overcompensating and became super dad to Lucas, which meant I had to be left in the dust. Over the years, it became clear that Lucas was the priority, could do no wrong, and was generally the golden boy who deserved everything. I won't go into details because I am sure you've heard it all before. Lucas was never openly hostile towards me, but definitely enjoyed his preferential treatment. At some point, I decided it wasn't worth trying and just focused on finishing high school. I had plans that I would ensure I wouldn't have to deal with my folks after graduation, and just hoped things didn't get any worse. The final blow came shortly before graduation. Again, the short version. There was a college fund for me, which my dad and mom had set up before she passed away. Lucas, on the other hand, didn't have one. And guess what? Lucas got the fund instead! Yay! And then my dad explained for over 40 minutes how he justified it. I wasn't really listening, but it was something about how Lucas needed all our support and how they would assist me in other ways. In the end, this assistance meant I would be allowed to stay in the family house until I figured things out. That actually worked in my favor because I already figured things out but needed time to put stuff into action. What my dad seemed to have forgotten was that my mom had been an immigrant from Switzerland, and since Switzerland operated under citizenship by descent, I had inherited Swiss nationality at birth. I also spoke decent German, my mom having insisted on speaking it to me exclusively before she passed. I had started researching Switzerland and its universities when I turned 16. It was perfect. Tuition fees were a fraction of what the US charged. As a citizen, there would be no restrictions on work, and the whole process took around half a year. Getting my passport, applying to the university of choice, saving up money for the first month there, it was pretty straightforward, but exhausting. After about 6 months, I simply walked out of my dad's house and left the key on the counter. I told them I'd be leaving a week before that, which was acknowledged with a grunt and a shrug from Dad. I assumed we were thus done, and parting somewhat amicably. I got my butt over to Switzerland and started my studies. My family never contacted me. The first 2 semesters were rough and I didn't have time to socialize, be it in real life or online, but after that, things got bearable. Accordingly, I got back in contact with my buddies back home and started posting on social media again. Posts about my life, my studies, and random stuff. That was a big mistake. It took my folks merely 2 days to reconnect, and I will have to abbreviate. Mom and Dad and Linda were extremely upset that I hadn't informed them about my plans, insisting that Lucas could have profited from this opportunity as well. I wasn't sure what they meant by that, but whatever. They inquired why I'd kept this from them, why I just disappeared. I didn't feel bad about that, and similar stuff. At some point I got fed up, told them this is how it is. They had their lives and I had mine, and that's that. They didn't like it. I decided to double down hard. First, they tried to get Lucas Swiss citizenship as well. That didn't work because citizenship is only passed down to direct descendants. Then they tried to get Lucas to transfer to my university. That didn't work either because he didn't speak a lick of German. It was weird. These people never considered the world outside of our state to even exist, and were now suddenly hyper-focused on a foreign country they knew nothing about. Meanwhile, my friends back home informed me that my dad and Linda were acting out. Lucas had apparently started living large. Private apartment, a car, partying, and so on, and thus depleted the college fund, which would have easily lasted for the entire degree, within record time. Now he was hanging on by the skin of his teeth, and they thought the route I had taken would somehow solve their issues. It didn't. The whole situation blew up completely when they convinced me to participate in a video call. I agreed. Me, Dad, and Linda were there. They started off laying their various imaginary grievances again, talking about how Lucas deserved to profit from my opportunities as well. I swear they used the word opportunity at least a gazillion times. I got frustrated and finally lashed out, telling them that it wasn't within my power to dish out freaking opportunities. Then they dropped the crazy bomb. They informed me that in order to support Lucas, we all had to make sacrifices. They expected me to interrupt my studies, return home, and start contributing to the family. Dad even said he would pay for my flight back. Oh, what a generous man! I almost had a brain aneurysm, but told them somewhat calmly that I was more than happy to oblige, right after hell freezes over. This resulted in them losing their cool. Dad started shouting, and Linda started sobbing, and, well, me? I ended the call. I decided not to block them, but to refuse to take any calls. Now voicemails, texts, and emails are piling up, ranging from anger to guilt-tripping to gaslighting. I am still here, still studying. Anyway, that's my entitled parents stories. If you have any comments or advice, feel free to drop them in the comments. If you have any questions about studying in Switzerland, I'll be happy to answer those as well. Someone in the comments says, wait, your father stole your college fund, which was contributed to by your mother for you? You should be suing them, or seeing if they can be charged with theft or fraud, depending on how the original fund was set up. OP said, I was made aware of that by others as well. It would take too long. Would require for me to pay for a lawyer up front, and I don't have that kind of cash, and would necessitate me to deal with him again. It's not worth it, but I am fine where I am. Thanks for the concern. And then the person who left the original comment said, I admire that. I'm sure your mother would be very proud of you for your bravery and maturity, and you've connected with your heritage from her in a way you might never have done if things had gone differently. That is the end of today's video. If you all enjoyed, remember to like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below. I will see you all next time. Actually, I've got an interview to attend to in about an hour, so I'm gonna go get comfortable and go do that. Bye-bye.